Beautiful day outside. It's baseball season, based on snowflakes and all that good stuff. But no, excited to get going. It always catches us. I'm not going to say off guard, but it never quite feels like baseball season when we open up. Obviously, with it being winter yet, but our guys have put in a lot of time the last month or so. Thankfully, the weather turned a little bit for a stretch there, and we got outside, and so excited to play Duke. Really, really good opponent. I'm sure they're talking about things like Omaha and competing for national titles and that stuff down there, which is good. We'll see where we're at right away, and whether we have success or not, we'll learn from it. We'll get better, but I know the guys feel good and are excited to do it.
It took a few games for you guys to get into a groove last year. I mean, how fun would it be to go and take a couple from them?
Yeah, obviously it'd be great. Flip side is, I've said this a few times before, 3 baseball games out of 56 is kind of like the first quarter of the first college football game, right? Whether you're up 14 or down 14, you're gonna feel pretty good or poor about it, but in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty minuscule. So it's really about playing our style of baseball. But for sure, it'd be great to go out and compete well with a good team. Our guys feel good that they can get it done, and hopefully we can get started well.
I have a question, Coach, for you. Last week when I spoke with you, you talked about your starting rotation being O'Connor on Friday, Nate Taylor on Saturday, and then Sunday, Adam. Is it Mrakic?
Mrakic.
Is that still the plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Those guys all lines up now. If you've tracked the weather across kind of the entire eastern half of the country going into this weekend, I don't know what the sequence of games will be. We'll play Friday for sure. Potential schedule gets moved around, so that could change something. But assuming we play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those will be the 3 guys for sure.
Do you have established a pitch count for those guys?
We've got numbers in mind.
Okay, you just don't want to share them.
I certainly do not, but I
it.
appreciate the question. I know this is broadcast all over ESPN right now. We don't need the world tuned in. Too many bettors out there. We keep them off the books.
Coach, when you look at the success that you did have in the Big 12 this year, how has that helped from a recruiting and confidence standpoint?
Yeah, the recruiting side, it's already shown up this year, and it'll show up even more in future years. This year it helped in the transfer portal side. I think there were some guys that really have a drive to play in the NCAA tournament and play at a high level. That's how they could do it right away here. A bigger picture is it opened, I think, some eyes to some younger guys that we'll see coming through the doors next year, following year. Started to see some real positives there. What was the second part of the question? I apologize.
Just the confidence with your returning players as you're experiencing this.
Yeah, I mean, a lot different than last year. Not that our guys didn't believe they could win last year, but obviously there's a lot of unknown and uncertainty. And without a doubt, they think we're going to be successful this year. Now, that doesn't guarantee wins or success, but it's a better starting point for sure.
Do you talk to your team about not sneaking up on people this year? Because last year maybe you had that ability, being picked last in the conference and kind of surprising people with what you showed. People probably aren't going to be caught off guard by the
Yeah,
big
to an
guys.
extent. I think kind of the messaging has been, don't lose sight of the fact that, 17 and 13 in the Big 12 is pretty real. That's a legit record, and so just don't lose sight of the fact that it's hard to do that. And so I don't know if it's so much not sneaking up on people outside of don't take for granted how difficult that was to do and how difficult that is to repeat. It's going to take a lot of work. We don't want to panic if things don't go the right way at times. So not so much tempering expectations, but just reminding guys what we all put into that. And I think our guys feel good that the roster probably has a little more talent and depth than it did last year, but just reminding them that the process of being successful doesn't change, and we've got to go about it again. But certainly that's going to be a factor. There's no doubt 18 to 22-year-olds pay attention to the name on the front of the jersey, and ours will look just a little bit better going into this year.
How much does Mitchell's versatility play into the lineup decisions this season, and how much of a leadership aspect are you looking for him to take on this year?
Yeah, Christian, he does a great job in a leadership role. He's such a stable guy in terms of how he prepares for it and how he goes about it. There's no real roller coaster with him. I haven't been with him for 2 years now. Obviously, that makes a difference too. But that versatility, it's really valuable when you have a guy that can do two different things, get in the lineup and help you on the mound. It adds a lot of depth to your team, but there are challenges with it too in terms of making a lineup and when you bring him in the game. The big advantage for Christian is he'll probably play mostly in the outfield this year. We returned a lot of infield depth and we're a little thinner out there. Playing the outfield is going to be a lot easier on his arm than playing the middle infield, so that will help a little bit. But he's certainly one of those older guys that's been there, done that, knows what to expect, and kind of parlays that to the rest of the team.
Who are some players that are new this season, whether portal players or even high school players, that are expected to kind of have that immediate impact for you guys?
Yeah, it's a really good transfer class. You know, the starting point is Kellen O'Connor and Adam Rakic on the mound. Those are, I mean, you can just pull up the stats and you don't have to listen to what I say to understand those guys are highly successful Division I left-handed starting pitchers. And if you look back a year ago at West Virginia, who played in Super Regional, their biggest addition was actually a D2 transfer, Derek Clark, who was a little lefty that threw a ton of strikes and competed, and he was a game changer. And these two guys, they're not the same guy, but some similarities. Smaller school guys that have been ultra successful, that are really, really competitive. You put those two guys in that rotation, it makes a big difference. They're going to be a little limited early, like I mentioned earlier, but those two are big. If you look around the diamond, I think Donovan Ford's going to be a lot of fun to watch in center field, Division II transfer from Newberry. He just plays so fast, and even though he's undersized, it's explosive. He can hit the ball in the gaps, he can hit it out of the park here and there, but he's going to be a huge threat on the bases. The bunt game, he's going to track balls down in center field. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. A guy like Cal Sefcik is ultra dangerous. We'll see where it goes, but he has as much raw power as just about anybody I've coached. Couple of under-the-radar pitchers, Brandon Shire, a transfer from Saginaw Valley, Rodney Schultz, a transfer from Pitt Johnstown, guys that were D2 guys, again, that we think they're really going to help us. I know I'm omitting a couple of names there. Dawson Hokoff hitting the 4-hole at Lindenwood, Division I 4-hole hitter. That's a big pickup. So Jack Natili's another one, so I know I'm going rambling on, but these guys are all going to help us a lot. Jack is a high level catcher jumping in, started at Rutgers last year, so that transfer class provided a lot of depth. And there's some freshmen that'll contribute, but we're always tempered with expectations for those guys early.
You lose 19 home runs from Josh Cross, who's next in line to provide the pop.
Well, I mentioned Cal. Big thing with Cal, though, is he can't try to do too much. He's got a lot of raw power. But I think there's going to be a little bit of a cumulative makeup there. As much as, you know, a guy like Carrington and Tommy each had double digits last year, it wouldn't be at all surprising to see their numbers jump a little bit. They're good, experienced players who have now played a year in what we're teaching. Landon Vitterick certainly could hit a few more balls out of the park. So, you know, I don't know that we have a 20 home run guy, but I don't know that we need one to provide enough power to be successful. It's just, I think we're going to be strong 1 to 9, and if enough guys hit the ball hard, we'll ride a few out of the yard.
What's the most important factor in putting together a non-conference schedule at this level?
Well, my failure was trying the first week to find sun and warm weather, so I have an 0 for 1 on that. But we found Las Vegas in week 2, so just look for the sun and the warm weather. But I think you got to be aware of what you anticipate from your team, and I think we knew this group would have a little bit more inner confidence, probably a little bit more experience than last year's group, and so going to Duke is formidable, but I think our guys are not worried or scared of the challenge. Obviously, it's interesting because UNLV and UC San Diego week 2 and 3 are not as big in names, but those are pretty good programs if you pull it up, pretty much winning records year in and year out, and so we'll be tested pretty well in those stretches. And then obviously the midweeks, we have, you know, Louisville in there, Indiana, Xavier. There was certainly some intent to beefing it up a little bit. Now, you don't need to go out and play LSU and Tennessee every single week, but yeah, to win in the Big 12, we got to play high-level baseball, so we might as well go out there and try to learn what it takes right away.
Coach, first year for Adam here at Cincinnati. Obviously, you spent time with him at Central Michigan. Just talk about what he brings to this rotation with his frame being 6'5", a left-handed pitcher being able to do so much.
Yeah, I don't know who told you Adam was 6'5". He maybe told you that, but he's probably 6'1". But undersized guy. In terms of weight, he's a funny story. He walked on for us at Central Michigan. By the end of his freshman year, he won a regional game for us, went 6 innings out of the bullpen, and really over the course of a year and a half with him, went from a guy who was just getting a little bit of time to a guy who was competing to be a staff ace on a team that had a second round draft pick on it, and he went a long ways in a year and a half, and so it's fun to get back with him. Didn't spend last year with him, but he's a left-hander that throws a lot of strikes. The ball has some funny movement patterns if you check some of the analytics stuff, and there's a lot of competitiveness there. And so, strike throwing lefty is a good place to start, but there's some other attributes, and so we're excited. He can't try to put too much on his plate. He doesn't need to be Superman out there, but he will be very, very successful at this level.
You guys received pretty good fan support, especially on your weekend series last season. How much has that helped with your ability to sell this program?
Yeah, we want to see that keep growing. We understand, there's going to be some weekends where maybe just parents and significant others are enjoying the 41-degree weather, but we'll also get a lot of nice weather games, and either way, it is, our stadium is a great place to watch a ball game. It's got great sight lines. We play with a lot of energy. It's in a great setting. We saw it as the year went on last year. Crowd started to grow. I think our season ticket sales are up. I cannot push enough that, number one, we feed off of it. You look at our home record last year, we were really, really successful at home, and so we need that crowd behind us. But on the flip side, I'd like to think people that come watch us really, really enjoy the style of baseball we play, the energy we play with. So I think it's, we want to see that place packed, and I know it doesn't happen overnight, but we see the electricity that goes on in this basketball arena at night. We want to generate a little smaller version of that, and there's no reason that we can't.
3 new additions to the Big 12 this year: Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. You guys open up Big 12 play at Arizona. What does it mean to have the Big 12 keep evolving and strengthening throughout the years?
Yeah, that's no joke. You got a lot of national titles between a couple of those schools. Arizona hosted a regional last year. Certainly, the league is really, really good. And so we're excited to welcome those teams. We're excited that, again, they're sunny and warm. We're not going to argue about mid-March down there. But yeah, there'll be a big test right away. It'll be good for us. And we lost 2 really quality programs in Texas and Oklahoma, but to add those 3 washes a lot of that out. And without a doubt, we're competing to be the second best league in the country. And that's exciting.
In theory, if there were an athlete on campus that was pretty good in one sport, but he also played some baseball, how receptive would you be?
You're trying to get me to have some sort of a violation here, Scott. Yes, I've coached 2 sport guys, and they can be successful. I've got books at home, and every couple of days I've got one of my little guys reading to me about Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders. If you can do it in the NFL and in big league baseball, certainly it can be done at the college level. But certainly it's work, it's hard. But great athletes can do a lot of cool things, and so certainly we always are open to the idea of 2-way prospects.
Duke's got 3 guys on D1 Baseball's top 50 starting pitchers, and they're all lefties. I don't know if they're all healthy, but you're expecting to see a lefty maybe every day down there?
Sounds like they're going to do what we're doing. It's left, right, left. So we'll see 2 lefties. They've got some good ones out of the pen. They're more left-handed than most opponents, and that'll present some challenges. Again, good left-handed pitching is a premium, and so if you've got it, it makes you tough, and they've got it.
11 of their guys are on some sort of list or up for some award. Have you ever opened with a team with this many accolades, preseason accolades?
I don't think so. I guess the best comparison was a couple of years ago. We opened at Baylor at Central Michigan. Now, they weren't as good that year, but as a MAC school opening at a Big 12 school in a pretty good atmosphere, obviously that was a challenging place to start. And we had success. We won 2 out of 3 that weekend. We had a year where we opened, and I know 2 of our first 3 games were Coastal Carolina and West Virginia. So we've had some tough opponents early, and it's exciting for the guys for sure. But this team is really good. Duke baseball is probably not as much on the radar as, again, an LSU, a Tennessee, a Texas A&M. But I mean, if you pull up the resume the last 6 or 8 years, I think it's 3 super regionals. Like, they are consistently a top 15 to 20 team.
You guys all set?
Yep.
All right, Coach, thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks.
Good luck.